Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast with opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. Tyson, today we got a big show, man. We are covering the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, giving a little preview. Now, you may be listening to it today, and you're like, what? The Western Conference Finals already tipped off, and we understand. We had some life going on. We couldn't get it to
Sorry.
you before then. So, it is what it is. Like, everybody's got life going on, but we want to still kind of give you an early look into what we expect to happen in the early part of this series. So we're going to break this thing down and just talk about it in the integral interesting way. Later this week, we're also going to be diving into kind of the fallout from what happened with the Suns losing, the Sixers losing, and the NBA draft lottery. So keep an eye out on that as well if you're interested in that stuff. But Tyson, let's dive right in, baby. Conference finals preview. These are matchups that I think people are extremely interested in. What are your thoughts on the Final Four that we have in the NBA?
I mean, it's not the one I wanted. That's for sure. People might be interested, but I'm like, God damn it! Don't let Brad talk to you guys about how we had life going on. He's lying. I'm a Suns fan. He's a Sixers fan. We were out here licking our wounds. We didn't want to talk about it. No, I mean the matchups are great. I think there's definitely a big market end all here. If we get Lakers Celtics, I think that's like the NBA's wet dream, so to speak. Like if David Stern was still in charge, this is what we're getting. But we have the Nuggets, who every time they've been in the conference finals have played the Lakers, so that's kind of fun to me. And then the boogeyman's back, baby. Miami just doesn't go anywhere.
No, they don't. They really don't. I think it's going to be interesting. And this is a rematch from last year with the Celtics and Heat that went 7. It was extremely tight series.
Three
I
of the
think
last
it could
four
play out.
playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah, they were played in the bubble. They played last year and playing this year, which is extremely surprising, just considering kind of the profiles. More so the Heat, I think, than the Celtics. But it's something we're going to dive into. But I think the main event again is the Western Conference Finals between the Lakers and the Nuggets. And the Lakers have proved me wrong. I've come on this show before every single round and said, I don't think the Lakers can win. I don't think the Lakers can do this. I don't think the Lakers can do that. And they've continued to prove me wrong. And so here I am again, picking against the Lakers. I think the Nuggets get this done, Tyson. It's just the Nuggets can do things that I don't think the Lakers can counter. The Grizzlies couldn't shoot, and that was their downfall. The Warriors couldn't win on the road, and they really could not rebound. Like we saw Anthony Davis eat them up. Well, the Nuggets can shoot, and the Nuggets can rebound. That's where I think the Lakers are going to have some problems in this series where they're not going to be able to get easy buckets. They're not going to get those second chance points. And defensively, there are many players on that side who are important that I think may get played off the floor just because they can't defend all these options that the Nuggets throw at them.
Well, it's going to be interesting, especially because one MVP candidate and MVP winner just got exposed. Well, the other one was the one we were all talking about, and Jokic, that like this isn't a playoff guy. But his game has just traveled everywhere. He's 30, 10, and 10 every time he steps off the bus. Last round, we thought he was going to put in a blender and high pick and roll over and over and over again. He was going to gas. None of that came to fruition. And now the Lakers are going to, you would assume, attack like they do, drive as hard as they can into the paint, throw something up, try to draw fouls, get to the line, and just be bigger than everybody because they are. How's he handle that? Because he's passed every other test so far with flying colors. I know you don't necessarily want to get into it, but we talk ad nauseum, and not just us, but the media, Twitter, social media, all of it. Like, oh, Kawhi is the best player in the world when he's healthy. Giannis is the best player in the world. Embiid's the best player in the world. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world.
He's been utterly dominant.
You can't even. There's no argument to be made. The dude who just won MVP threw up 15-8 in a win or go home situation in the playoffs, and then threw everybody else under the bus besides the guy who played worse than him. Nikola Jokic just shows up. Like I said, he gives you 30, 10, and 10. And then he's quiet. He's not upset at anybody. The difference between him and Joel Embiid, like, it's sad to me, man, because we're a big JoJo pod, but I mean, discussion over, debate ended.
I completely agree with that. I think when we look at how Joel Embiid performed in the playoffs, like it was flat out embarrassing down the stretch, and Nikola Jokic has continued to raise his game to levels that we're talking like all-time great status with stuff he was doing last year.
There's no comp.
It was insane.
There's no comp.
No, Absolutely not. And so let's move into this, and we can talk a little bit more in detail. But I want to get your thoughts on this for each series. Like, how can the Lakers win this series in your opinion? Like, is it another dominating performance from Davis? But he's going to be matched up against Nikola Jokic. Do the guards have to come together? Does it have to be vintage LeBron? Like, how are you looking at this from a Lakers perspective?
I think they're going to need Game 6 LeBron more times than they got it last round. And that was for all of us at home who were like, well, AD might actually be the best player on this team and all that. LeBron James in Game 6 was just like, this, we're winning. There's not a whole lot you can do. But the role players have to play like a mix between Game 6 and Game 1 against Golden State, like knockdown shots, gritty, and they're just doing such a good job right now of taking turns and finding the hot hand and allowing that guy, whether it's Lonnie Walker, D'Angelo Russell, take your pick, Austin Reeves, whoever you want to throw in there. Rui Hachimura had a nice game. They're finding that guy early, and then they're just being like, this is who we're rocking with today. All that's awesome. It's just like Denver just shoots the lights out. So you have to be locked in, and you have to close out on shooters and hope that Anthony Davis holds up for 6-7 games.
The most impressive thing for me about this Lakers run so far is they were like an okay home team this year, and they finished 43-39 records, so that you're not going to get crazy splits one way or the other. But they were 23-18 at home in their season, in the regular season, and they've been 6-0 in the playoffs. Like, they've done extremely well on their home floor throughout the playoffs. I think that's an extremely important aspect for the Lakers. Like, when that place is rocking, old Staples, newcrypto.com, whatever it's called, when that place is rocking, it's an electric environment. And sometimes the players who aren't kind of ready to step in those moments, they can crumble under that excitement and that pressure, trying to do too much, trying to do things that they normally don't do. And that's outside of the scope of the offense or the defense, gambling and different things like that, trying to make steals. The Lakers haven't done that. Like, Austin Reeves has stepped up from the moment the playoffs started. I mean, we had Lonnie Walker come off the bench and light it up against the Warriors. Dennis Schroeder has taken his game to the next level. D'Angelo Russell's been an extremely solid option for him. So they need that to continue, I think, if they want a chance to beat the Nuggets, because, the Nuggets during the regular season were 19-22 on the road. In this playoffs, they're 2-3 on the road. So they do have some road success winning 2 games here, but, it's not like they're world beaters on the road. They don't have that pedigree to be completely dominant on the road as well. So that's something I'm keeping my eye on. But I think from strategy standpoint, they're really going to have to figure out a tight rotation. Like you said, they've been figuring a hot hand and riding it. I don't know if they're going to have the luxury to do that in this series, just because of the mismatches that I think the Nuggets can throw at them. Darvin Ham's going to have to figure out his guys and roll with them.
The other part of that is maybe they're not going to be afforded the chance because Denver just comes out and scores 35 every first quarter that they play in. And they're Warriors-esque. I don't want to say they're like the Warriors necessarily, but it's like random explosions where all of a sudden they have 42 points in a quarter. Game's wrapped. That's it. You were even, and then they're leaving. They did that to Phoenix, and they've done that to teams all year long, whether it's in the playoffs or the regular season. And obviously, we're recording right now, Brad. I think the first quarter might have just ended. I'm going to pull that up, but just had to jump in with that because what they do, the snowball effect of the Denver Nuggets is just ridiculous.
Like, when they're feeling themselves, you're right. They're like the Warriors. Like, they are front runners. If they're feeling it, shots are going in. Michael Porter Jr. is bombing from deep, and it looks good.
37 points in the first quarter for the Denver Nuggets, 37-25 as we record.
Wow. Yeah, see, and that's what you're talking about, right? Like, they just come out, they dominate. I think the other thing here, let's move into this from the Nuggets perspective. How they can win, I think it's simple to me. Jamal Murray has to be that guy that he was in the bubble, because this is a much more mature Nuggets team than faced that Lakers team. But if Jamal Murray plays to that level, this team is virtually impossible to beat because the role players surrounding Jokic and Murray are so much better. Michael Porter Jr. has taken his game to a level that we thought he would be at this point in time. Like, he wasn't the guy that was billed coming out, right? Like, with his back injury, he didn't get a lot of experience. He didn't get a lot of reps, but he's still able, and he's on. He is a bona fide number 3 in this league. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope continues to prove that he has value as a role player. Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, guys off the bench that just know their role and do a good job. Aaron Gordon, one of the most silently efficient and effective guys on that roster. if Murray is elite, the role players stay at that level and they take on the identity of Michael Malone, defending, getting back on defense, caring. This Nuggets team, I think, can win in 5. I expect them to win in 6, but if they do all those little things, I do believe they're that much better than this Lakers team.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there with the Michael Malone thing. If this team rebounds and they just come out and say, like, oh, we're not scared of you, well, let's have more points in the paint than the Lakers. Like, let's start a game that way. Let's go attack them, out-rebound them. Because if you remember the bubble, it was like Jamal Murray was awesome and Jokic was awesome. And the role players were pretty good there too. But there was like I don't want to say fear, but it was almost like an understanding. That's still Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Like, how do we do with that when they're on their runs? Like, this Nuggets team, to me, the way they beat Phoenix, just demolishing them on their home court, that was a first-time thing with this group of the Denver Nuggets in that kind of big moment where it was like, oh, this is over. Like, they wrapped it up quick. And that, to me, shows growth and that they are doing that. But I think, like, they're big too. So there's no need to be intimidated by the Los Angeles Lakers size in a way that Golden State might have been or anybody else. Like, just out-rebound them and hit your shots because they're going to be open. The Lakers leave people open on purpose. That's part of Ham's defensive strategy. And if it's KCP in the corner, if it's MPJ from, 35 feet, it doesn't matter. He's still pulling. And if those shots go in, it's quick 5.
And you know what's crazy, Tyson? Like, did we ever think that we would be sitting here before a series and saying, man, I actually think that the Nuggets are going to be able to hit a higher percentage number of threes than the Warriors? Because the Warriors couldn't hit these things, man. And it was like shocking to see, but they got these looks. And that's why I thought the Warriors are just going to beat the Lakers because they're going to get those open threes. In the past, we've seen the Warriors, if you give it to them, they're going to hit them. Wasn't the case in that series. Does it have something to do with the Lakers defense? I think in a way. I mean, the Lakers defense has been a top 3 unit, if not the best unit in the NBA. But at a certain point, if you're gonna play with fire like that, and you run into a team like the Nuggets who pass the ball extremely well, work to get open shots, and then hit them when they do, I think that's a tough task for that Lakers defense.
It's going to be. I mean, it was a good warm up. That's a good team to try to learn against as you start there in Golden State.
Yeah, and just to finish off our thought here in the Nuggets before we move over to the Eastern Conference Finals, at home, this probably should shock nobody because the Nuggets have a great home court advantage. We all know about the mile high and everything like that comes with it, but they were 34-7 at home during the regular season. Just a great home record. Actually, the best in the NBA out of anybody. In the playoffs, we talked about the Lakers being undefeated, so are the Nuggets. They're 6-0. They've completely eviscerated opponents on their home court. So I think this is going to come down to how well do you hold serve at home, like in any series, but can you make quick work of it on the road and actually compete on the road? Because both these teams have held serve the entire time they've been on in their home floor.
This is going to be so much fun, man.
Oh, I'm excited, man. I am excited. Okay, let's move over to the East. We have the Heat versus the Celtics in a very interesting matchup because I don't know if you saw this, Tyson. ESPN's BPI or whatever the case may be to predict the series gave the Celtics a 97% chance to win this one. I would not go that far as to say a 97% chance to win a series here, but I do like the Celtics in this. I'm expecting the Celtics to win in 6. I would not be shocked if it's over in 5. I'm actually going to bet the Celtics to win this series in 6. And I think the wake-up calls they've had or the close calls they've had against Atlanta and then Philly's last series is not just a wake-up, but more of like a galvanizer. Like, you need to be pushed at certain points. And the Celtics, they weren't juggernauts like they were the previous season, but they've still had a smooth sailing the majority of the past 2 years. Like, I think having a little bit like, oh, shit, we got to like go now, I think that helps them in the long run in a weird way. What do you think about this series?
This is going to be way closer than 97-3 or whatever that was. I know that. Boston, to me, it's weird because Game 7 against Philly was the first time in a minute where it was like, this game is really close most of the way throughout, and then Jason Tatum just went crazy. But the games against Atlanta and outside of 2 other games against Philly, it's kind of been like we almost knew the entire time who was going to win the game. Miami has just been like doesn't matter, up 20, down 20, like they're playing the exact same with the exact same level of urgency, it feels like. As always, they did it without Jimmy Butler. They've done it with Jimmy Butler. Play that way. And that's not win, obviously, because they lost that one. But, dude, this is going to be – is Boston actually physical? Remember what I said last week that it just felt like the bully torch was getting passed in the Eastern Conference, and Boston was the last one to kind of claim it when they beat Milwaukee last year. And then Miami just kicked the door in this year and just was like, it doesn't matter. We are the bully.
Mm-hmm.
I think that still exists, dude, because they're not as talented. They can't score on the high end with the Boston Celtics. I think on an average, they're going to be closer than people are expecting. But they have to just muddy it up, man. Like, that's the way to beat Boston, unless you have James Harden go for 50 or unless you have a Trae Young game. You kind of got to make things ugly. And Boston's really good at playing that way, but nobody's better than Miami.
Yeah, and that moves. So let's move right into it then. I mean, you laid it out there. I think for me, if I'm looking at the Heat and how they can win this series, they're going to have to take away whether it's a Tatum or a Brown. Like, I don't think you can play them both straight up. I think you're going to have to go into the game with the mindset, let's take one of them away and we'll take our chances with the other. If you can do that, I believe that reduces their offensive potency. And you're like, oh yeah, no shit. But I think I'm not talking points. I'm talking just how you create the offense, right? If you're making it difficult on a Tatum or a Brown, if they choose to do it that way, you're getting Marcus Smart involved more. It's more of Brogdon. It's more of Derek White, which are all three great players, but they're not at that all NBA type of caliber like a Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are. So if they have to have the ball in their hands more, they have to make more decisions. If they're the ones who have to drive the offense at a higher rate, I think that does muddy the game up and give the Heat a better opportunity to win. Who would I try to take out, Tyson? I think what we saw is that the Celtics can win if Jason Tatum goes ballistic, but he's always going to at least score points. Now, there were some off games that he had against the Sixers, but normally when Jaylen Brown goes for his crazy numbers like 35, 40, things like that, you look at the box score, you're like, oh, Tatum still got like 20, 25. And I think if I'm attacking this, I'm trying to take Jaylen Brown completely out of this game offensively.
That's interesting because Jaylen Brown's going to shoot it no matter what. Like he's still going to finish the game probably with, whether you're double teaming him all day or leaving him wide open, it's going to be within 5 shot attempts, probably of the other outcome. But that's interesting. I didn't think about it that way. Because if you try to take away Jaylen Brown, then it puts a lot of pressure on Tatum. We saw last year in the finals, Tatum couldn't be the primary creator for the offense, like bringing the ball up the court. And it was mostly, I want to find my spot and shoot the ball. Like, I don't really know how to initiate this and get into this. Is Missoula's offense easier to run than Ime Udoka's? I don't think so. Is there more action or other things? I don't really think so. Has he grown that much as a player? Maybe. We haven't seen him have to do that as much this year. They add Brogdon, kind of bring in an extra ball handler. So maybe, hey, man, you want to have some flashbacks like Vietnam stuff for Jason Tatum? We make him take the ball up the court. We make him initiate the offense. I kind of like that, actually. And look, man, Miami's going to play the way Miami plays all the time, though. That's the thing. Is it's right. Like whether that's the way that is smart to play or not. Like Eric Spoelstra's just like, we do this better than everybody. We're going to build the wall. Good luck.
I think they're going to run into trouble if they try that 2-3 zone like they did last year. Boston just has way too good of shooting this season compared to last, especially when you have a White and you have a Brogdon that are able to come in and have a 3-guard look. And sometimes even go extremely small and have a 4-guard look, or a 2-guard with the 2 wings, but like 4 ball handlers on the floor with either a Horford or a Robert Williams. Robert Williams, it felt like he took a step back this year. He's been great in the playoffs. I mean, maybe not the Hawks series, but that was a tough matchup. But I thought he did a fantastic job in the Sixers series, and that goes a long way. Bam Adebayo has taken a step forward for this Heat team. He's going to have to continue to do that if they want a shot, because in that Game 6, the closeout against the Knicks, his offense made that team so much better and kind of held them, pushed them forward while Jaylen Brown was going nuts and Jimmy Butler was struggling. It was Bam Adebayo's offense that really kept them afloat in that game. I think he has to continue to be aggressive if the Heat want to win, and we all know that Spoelstra's going to have the coaching matchup in this one too.
Well, that was the other point that I wanted to make is Bam Adebayo has to do that, like not just 6 times in a row to win this series, but 12 times to win the NBA Finals, and then 82 times next year. Like, that is the player that's in there, and that's why it's so frustrating, I think, when you're watching him. And he's not playing poorly, but he has 4 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and it's just like Bam shot the ball 3 times.
Right.
He told us out loud a year or two ago that he wanted to take 15 shots a game, and he still hasn't done that. I think he can eat Al Horford's lunch, and I think that is a matchup that Miami should want to go at. And Al Horford's still pretty good on the defensive end, but lateral quickness and the agility is just overwhelming with Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, it's a way different cover than what Joel Embiid presented for Horford. So that's a very interesting matchup to keep an eye on too. Is Horford going to be involved in this series? That's to be seen. Now moving over to the Celtics, they're the favorites. They're minus 500, I believe, on the sports book. So that just massive favorites to win this series. I think with good reason. Their talent is much better. They're extremely deep. The only question mark I really think surrounding the Celtics team is regarding their coaching. There were question marks about Jason Tatum after last year's finals. We know he's a great player, but how great? That was the thing. And then he had some struggles in the playoffs this year. And we're like, how good is he? Then I think he really showed, how good of what his ceiling is when he's locked in, when he's hitting shots. For the Celtics, I think it's simple. If they are focused and dialed in and don't play with their food and allow the Heat to make these open shots and get in rhythm, they should make extremely quick work of this series. They just should. They're just their talent is too high compared to Miami Heat. But I expect the Celtics to have some lulls. I expect them to allow the Heat to play themselves into a game, to hang around, and then use their experience down the stretch and win a couple. So that's why I'm taking the Celtics in 6. But quite frankly, Tyson, this should be a series that they win in 5 games.
You said it. Don't play with your food. Like, that's what they did against Atlanta. That's what they did against Philly. And Philadelphia won 2 games without Joel Embiid. And everyone wants to use that as Philadelphia's better without Joel Embiid. What that meant to me was Boston was like, oh, Joel Embiid's not playing. Like, we don't have to, jump all over these guys. Where if they're up 40 at the end of 3 quarters, and I know that sounds like a bit of hyperbole, but the Nuggets just did it, right? That's the difference. That's the difference. Is Boston are they locked in? Because if they are, this thing's probably quick. But don't be punked. That's really how they can win the series. Is just don't be punked, man. Don't let Jimmy Butler go for 51. Don't let Bam Adebayo do whatever he wants. Don't let Kevin Love be throwing touchdown passes. And don't get bullied, man, because they're going to be talking the whole time. And Boston loves to talk back, but it gets really quiet over there sometimes. Watch the jaws. If they're moving, Boston's playing well.
2-2 in the regular season between these two. The Celtics won the first 2 matchups. The Celtics won the first 2 matchups. The Heat won the second 2 matchups, which I think is interesting. And when you look at it from the splits perspective, the Celtics were 32-9 at home, 25-16 on the road. Like they won 57 games. Like they're going to have good splits regardless of where they play. But I mean, it's impressive how good they were on the road this season. But when you look at it in the playoffs, it's been underwhelming. Now they played longer series. At home they're 4-3, on the road they're 4-2, and so it looks like they have the chance to be gettable on their home floor, and then when they're on the road, although they have a better record on the road, a better win percentage. And then when you look at the Miami Heat on the flip side, during the regular season at home, the Heat were 27-14, a good home record, but on the road 17-24, and that's carried over in the playoffs a bit. I mean, they're 5-0 at home, and on the road they're 3-3. So the Heat, we talk about them going in with a business mindset, but it hasn't really translated in this regular season and then into the playoffs as well. So if the Celtics, just hold serve at home and then try to go steal one for the first time in Miami, it should be a quick one. But that's something I'm keeping an eye on. Like how well do the Celtics defend their home court? Because they should have warning shots from the last 2 series. Like, hey, we can't really be doing this.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't figure it out, this team never will. That's the thing. Like they
Right.
have to jump them, and we'll know. Like, is this like young Oklahoma City, or is this like Phoenix Suns?
All right, that's going to do it for our conference finals preview. So, Tyson, do you want to give your predictions here at the end here? What do you expect? Are you betting anything as we close the show?
Yes, I'm going Denver. I think you said 5 games. I'm leaning more towards 6. I'm just comfortable with them winning the series. And then this one might hurt you a little bit, but I think the Miami Heat are going to represent the NBA or the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals.
Wow, how about that? So I'm pulling this up here now. I don't think we can get the Nuggets right because they're live.
No, because they tipped, but
because
it was like
tipped,
minus
right.
500 or something to win the series. It was something. It was at least where I live. That's the thing is I pull these numbers out, but I live in Montana, and our numbers aren't always very close to FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever. So that's more of a game over game situation for me. But dude, I think Boston's still soft. I think the East was just soft last year because Daddy wasn't home.
Miami Heat plus 390 to win the East here on FanDuel. So if you like that, if you like what Tyson's telling you, plus 390 there. And if I can pick the exact here, Celtics in 6, that's plus 360. Celtics in 5, that's plus 210. So they are telling you that's probably the most likely outcome here, at least according to the sportsbook. Regardless, Tyson, this is going to be, I think we're going to have great series, great games. I'm hoping, because the playoffs have been great, let's be completely honest here. The playoffs have been a good product so far. I'm hoping that these conference finals.
But dude, have you noticed that no matter how good the basketball is, the narrative everywhere has transitioned into the drama part of the NBA?
Oh, of course.
Like nobody cares about the 4 teams left because of all the guys that got fired, because John Morant's flashing his gun in his car, all that stuff. Like that started to piss me off because it's getting to the point where like the NBA is treated like middle school. It's truly crazy. Like in the NFL, it's shut up. Like you hire whoever you want, but there's playoff football games going on.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. Completely right. But in the meantime, Tyson, tell them and the people out there where they can find our picks on a game-to-game basis in the NBA playoffs.
It is in our chalkboard. It is an app on the App Store or on Google Play. It's just Brad and I and a group of people that we have in there throwing picks at the wall, whether it is who's going to win the NBA draft lottery or who's going to win these series, college football stuff, NFL stuff. We have features being, thought of and put out as we speak because our win totals and all those things are here with schedule releases in both college football and the NFL. Are yours all the way up on FanDuel? Because mine are slowly trickling in. So I don't have because I don't have everybody available currently. But yeah, NHL stuff. Brad hit you didn't hit a soccer bet today, did you?
No, nothing today. I'm going to have one, and I'm going to have one for the Champions League Man City game, though.
Exactly. Soccer, baseball, MMA, whatever sport you can think of. It's in our chalkboard on the Apple Store, on Google Play, wherever you get your apps.
And in the meantime, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the show. We appreciate the support, whether you're watching us on YouTube, sending us a like. If you want to send us a comment, ask us a question. Same thing if you're listening to us in podcast form. Any 5-star review would go a long way to help us become more discoverable on the charts. And you can stay connected with us on our social media pages, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all of the same handle. It's ISWIS_pod. So if you need to get in contact with us there, feel free to hit us up at any moment. Make sure to join the chalkboard. Like Tyson said, we have a ton of content coming out this week. You're not going to want to miss it. So we will talk to you on the next episode. Until then, guys, peace.